Are you sick and tired of the blatant hypocrisy of Twitter? Are you absolutely fed up with the war on conservatives? Are you angry the way big tech is silencing conservatives? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, I've got some great news for you. Because now conservatives are striking back. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. There's a new social media app called Gettr. And in fact, it's not just an app, there's a website, so you can either use the app or log on to the website. But that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about this website. I'm going to be talking about the good, the bad, my predictions for the future. Stay tuned to the end because I'm going to be talking about the potential threat that we all have to be aware of. Let's get into it. So, Jason Miller is the CEO of Gettr, the main face of Gettr right now. And the question is, and if you don't know who Jason Miller is, he was chief spokesman for the 2016 campaign of Donald Trump, as well as a senior advisor to Trump's re-election campaign. So the question is this the social media app that Donald Trump was talking about, that he was working on? It doesn't seem like it at this point because he hasn't come out and thrown his support behind it, nor has he actually joined the website yet. So it seems like this might be something different. It seems like it. It's not certain yet, but so far it's number one in the App Store. Things are looking promising for it. Because remember, you have apps like Parler, you have Gab, you have MeWe, you have alternative apps, and some of them have had rockier runs than others. Of course, Parler, as you know, had a lot of issues with security, and we have to talk about some of the security issues with Gettr too. So while it does seem that there have been some security issues, on Sunday, there were reports of hacking, of certain information being compromised. The company itself and CEO came out, gave a brief statement, but I've seen coverage today that speaks of other security breaches, other issues, including information and email addresses being scraped. But I have to be honest with you. Some of this coverage appears to be tilted and biased against the platform, almost as if the people writing some of these pieces are trying to sway public opinion against the platform. Because let's not forget, Twitter, as established as it is, as huge as it is, has had its security breaches as well. In fact, just last year, very high-profile accounts were hacked, taken over by, I believe it was a 17-year-old. I think he was out of Florida or something. So let's not act like every other company has these impenetrable defenses and realize that hacks happen. But the question is, how does the company respond? Does the company have the ability to find its weaknesses and fix them? That's key. Now, if you get on the interface, you'll notice something. It's very familiar to people who have used Twitter. And that's one of the things. This is supposed to be an alternative to Twitter. The idea is to pull conservatives and right-leaning individuals off of Twitter onto Gettr. The app is very, very similar to Twitter. So in fact, what I looked at, I was wondering, is Twitter going to be upset about how similar the user interface is to its own? You know, Twitter has tweets, this has posts, it has the likes, the retweets, or the reposts, the certain sections that seem almost like just pulled and given slightly different names from Twitter. The question is Twitter going to seek legal action? Will Twitter try to say or claim that Gettr is violating their patents for user interfaces? I don't know, because Twitter hasn't actually issued any statements or said anything. And that in itself is what leads me to believe that Twitter is planning some legal action because they're not making any public statements at this time. The interesting thing is there are some differences. One of the coolest things I noticed about Gettr is it has a video playback, but you can play back at different speeds. So you can speed up your a video that's been posted at 1.5, 2 times speed and get through it quicker. That was an interesting feature. Additionally, Gettr does have verified accounts. Of course, the CEO, Jason Miller, as well as other conservative figures. In fact, if you look, you might have, if you've been on the site, you might have seen Candace Owens with a check mark next to her name. That's not the verification. While Twitter verifies its public figures with a blue check mark, Gettr verifies its public figures with a red V. So if you look on the Gettr app or the Gettr website and see Candace Owens with the check mark, that's not Candace Owens, or at least it's not verified Candace Owens. And if you look at the things that's being said by that account, clearly somebody's trolling. So I like this. I like that conservatives are being proactive and providing an alternative. And it's something I've said. Twitter, Facebook, social media is potentially facilitating their own extinction by being so biased against a viewpoint of nearly half the country. That's not smart. That's just not good business. Just because you don't agree with your customers doesn't mean you should be getting rid of them as customers. It doesn't seem intelligent, especially considering you're providing a platform that allows people to share their viewpoints, that you would then decide to weigh in and tip the scales one way or the other and try to alienate such a large segment of the population. But if conservatives can band together, enjoy this app, use this app, there's a lot of potential that this could be a success. Like I said already, the numbers are looking good. It's number one in the App Store. And so the potential is there. And the question is, can they keep the momentum going? Can they address security issues? Can they engage their followers, their users? Because that does seem to be a potential weakness, especially for a conservative platform. Will you be, as a site that brands itself as anti-cancel culture? Let's be real. Conservatives created cancel culture. So will this conservative platform be willing to platform speech that it doesn't agree with? If Gwen Berry wanted to create an account, would she be able to? Would she be able to say that she doesn't, if she did say this, would she be able to get on the platform and say that she doesn't like America or she doesn't like the flag? I'd be clear, she hasn't said these things. I'm providing a hypothetical because even without saying these things, conservatives have been incredibly critical of her. Would they accept her on the platform? Or would this anti-cancel culture platform suddenly become a pro-cancel culture? But that's not the biggest thing to worry about. That's not the threat. See, that's the potential downside, and that's the potential downfall of this app. But there's a threat that we have to be careful of. You see, there's a threat to be careful of. And it's not just that this app can fail. You see, yes, this app can fail, and it very well may fail. But the failures will not be because of big tech. The failures, the most likely failures of this app will be because of the way it's ran and the way it's being moderated. But the threat is what happens if it fails. You see, if it fails, I have no doubt that there will be politicians on the right who will use that as an excuse for government to take over social media. That's the threat we need to be worried about. That's the threat we need to be vigilant about. Because just because Parler fails, just because Gab, MeWe, or Gettr fails, if they fail, that doesn't mean that a social media company can't exist outside of the big three, big four. That means you need somebody to run it who's going to run it better than the current people or the current crop of individuals are. And it might mean that you need somebody to run a social media company that isn't partisan, that isn't blue or red. Because if Team Red is going to make the same mistakes in alienating a bunch of the population as Team Blue is making, then that could lead to failure. But we have to realize that the fault and the flaw is not in the company, it's in how it's being ran. We cannot allow individuals to use this as a smokescreen, any potential failure as a smokescreen for government to take over social media. Why? Because social media is not just being used to exchange ideas. It is, and that's a great thing. And that's one of the reasons why we have to make sure that government is not in control of it. Because if we look back before social media, when we just had a handful of channels on the TV, you younger people may not know this world. Take it from an older folk. Take it from us older folk. We've seen that world where it's virtually impossible for average individuals to have their voice heard in such a wide scope. But it's even bigger than just having a voice heard. And that's a big thing. It's big enough because social media, as it currently exists, is allowing so many people to make a living, so many people to get wealthy and build wealth through non-conventional means, to get around the gatekeepers of making money in order to build wealth for themselves, for their families, and to actually be financially independent. That is one of the greatest benefits of social media as it currently exists. And that is what we cannot allow government to step in and take over. Because I guarantee you they do. And I will be doing a video very soon about that threat, about the threat that government poses to social media and why it wants to take over social media. As always, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And by the way, welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you for joining the channel. Feel free to comment below what you think of the content. Have you used Gettr yet? Do you like it? What are the pros? What are the cons? Let me know what you think about it. And of course, if you disagree with what I've said, if you think this is bad, you don't like Gettr, or you don't think that anybody should be making any other social media, you think that the government should come and take over social media. If you think that, go ahead and give me a thumbs down. But give me a thumbs down and write why in the comment section, and I will address it either in the comment section or in a future video. I'll see you next time.